Hi, I'm Dave, and I know wrestling. Do you want a wrestling CEO who tried to make bodybuilding his side hustle? Do you want a wrestling CEO who tried to make football his side hustle? And do you want a wrestling CEO who has an obsession with money, big men, and celebrities? Well, too bad, because you're getting Stephanie McMahon instead. At least on paper. Nevertheless, allow me to introduce to you my client for Dave Knows Wrestling's Honest Promos. The CEO, the chairman of the board, a true Southerner, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, or Vince McMahon. Let me start by saying that it's going to be really hard to ignore Vince McMahon's current misconduct allegations. Wait, no it's not, because that's pretty much what Vince McMahon is doing right now. Behold, the greatest wrestling promoter of all time, even if he doesn't really like wrestling all that much to begin with. But that makes sense because mainstream America really doesn't like wrestling either. Sure, your old-timers and seasoned territory veterans will talk about how Vince McMahon made more money in the wrestling industry than anyone ever did before him by taking the whole thing and turning it into the movies and into cartoons with superheroes in it. And guess what? All those things made way more money than wrestling ever did before, so this strategy really shouldn't surprise anyone. Now yes, I am aware that many of you out there feel like Vince McMahon tarnished the integrity of the entire industry, which is the same industry that was formed by con artists who were lying to the public about their contests being legit in order to rip them off and make money off of them. Yeah, so much integrity. And when you look at it that way, Vince McMahon being a two-timing, two-faced, two-bit charlatan might just make him the most wrestling promoter to ever promote wrestling. Take that, Bill Watts! Adding to that, when we keep in mind wrestling's carny roots, then it becomes even less surprising that Vince McMahon really stole all of his best ideas from somewhere else. Let's see, he ripped off ECW to create the Attitude Era, he ripped off Starrcade in order to make WrestleMania, he ripped off Billy Graham and Austin Idol to make Hulk Hogan, he ripped off the NWO in order to make the Nation of Domination and DX, and he ripped off Eric Bischoff to make the Mr. McMahon character. And yes, I am aware that some of you might think that the Mr. McMahon character in the Attitude Era were really created because of the screw job, but that's because Vince McMahon can really get people to think whatever he wants them to think. Additionally, when talking about how ruthlessly Vince McMahon dominated over other promotions, it's important to remember that he did it to more than just WCW and ECW, as Vince's own father promised other promotions that his son would never compete against them, even though that's exactly what Vince Jr. did as soon as he got the chance, and he put them all out of business. Then again, seeing that he didn't meet his dad until he was 12 years old after Vince Sr. ran out on him and his mother, leaving them with very little money in North Carolina, resulting in Vince being raised by a stepfather who was highly abusive, well, let's just say, I don't blame him for not caring about keeping that promise. Oh, and yes, I did say North Carolina. What, did you think that Vince McMahon was born in Connecticut with a silver spoon in his mouth? Well, again, that's because Vince McMahon is good at getting people to think whatever he wants them to think. Although, as far as the company is concerned, this really did work out for the best now, didn't it? After all, WWE is now a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded company and is the most successful wrestling promotion to ever exist. Even though everyone thinks it sucks now. Because somehow, despite dwindling ratings, low house show attendance, and overall fan dissatisfaction, NBC Universal, Fox, and a Saudi prince all decided that they wanted to give Vince McMahon $1 billion. Because, yet again, Vince McMahon is really good at getting people to think whatever he wants them to. Now, this does make you wonder, with Vince's current misconduct investigation going on, is he somehow going to possibly charm his way out of this one too? Well, considering that he did survive the steroid trials, numerous other allegations, and testifying before the state senate that professional wrestling was predetermined, I'd have to say, yeah, it does look like he will. But as charismatic as Vince might be, he does have his limits, as he was never able to convince his own father to allow him to become a professional wrestler, which is what he originally wanted to be, first conceiving of the $1 Million Man character for himself rather than Ted DiBiase. And even though he never became a full-time professional wrestler proper, it didn't stop him from winning both the WWE and the fake ECW world titles. What about WCW, Vince? You commissioned both the spinner belt and the $1 Million Championship. Don't tell me that the big gold belt was too gaudy for you. But who knows? After all, Vince is a man of very particular taste, especially when it comes to the words he allows his talents to use, as he wants people to refrain from using words like wrestler, belt, and in some cases having both a first and last name. In the end, if you want a wrestling promoter that's willing to fire his own son, a wrestling promoter that really hates sneezing, and a wrestling promoter that's really a sports entertainer executive, then allow me to introduce to you my client for Dave Knows Wrestling's honest promos, the genetic jackass, not Ted DiBiase, currently under investigation, Vinnie Lupton or Vincent Kennedy McMahon. So let me get this straight. At his age, Vince McMahon is still having affairs? Ew.